and let's roll out, roll out, roll out, roll out, let's roll out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Food, Fitness, and Fun with Dre and JD. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
baby. Let's do
And
it.
this is episode 11. You know what I'm
Don't
saying?
say.
On say. I was going to say that, and I was like, I don't want to be too cheesy. I'm not going to say it.
That's
But
my job.
but you brought the cheese right in. You know what I'm saying?
I'll be cheesy.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Kind of my thing.
Yeah, why not? That's why we get along. It's one of the reasons we get along. You know what I'm saying? We be on that same shit. So, yeah, episode 11, folks. Thank you for being here this long. You know, hopefully you have been liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting. Everyone who's doing it, we see you and we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give him another shout out just because he been killing it. Shout out to Rage of Wookie because I hit him up and he was like, son, why are you hitting me up? I got notifications on. I know exactly when your shit drops. I was like, oh, son, you the realest. You are the realest. I love you, son. So shout out to Rage of Wookie. That's his YouTube name. And my man said, I got the notification bell on, baby. I know the moment your joint drops. Before you even post it anywhere. I don't need a promo clip. I said, I gotta salute that man. You know what I'm saying?
Love is love. Love is love.
Right. So yeah, so I just want to give him a quick shout out. And yeah, let's get it in. You know what I'm saying? So I want to talk about something let's start with food. You know, a lot of us in the hood, we grew up with this kind of mentality of like, yo, we have to eat to be full. A lot of times, you know, we have these extreme hungers. A lot of people grew up not having enough or having to eat like, you know, random things that we kind of salvage and put together, you know, spam and salamis and, you know, random things, you know, but that's, you know, that's what we do, you know, colored folks, that's what we do. We take scraps and turn it into fly shit. So we grew up with this mentality of like, you know, we got to eat to be full. We don't know where our next meal is coming from. And, you know, even some of our parents, when they feed us, oh, I got specs on. Why I got specs on? My bad. Sorry, YouTube. So we grew up with this mentality, and even some of our parents, they come from a place where it's like, I'm going to put all of this shit on the plate, and you better eat it all. The plate better be completely gone. Oh, you ain't hungry no more? Well, too bad. You better eat it. And I think what happened was a lot of us have come from this a friend of mine calls it scarcity mentality. And a lot of us has come from this scarcity mentality where it's like, well, because we don't know where our next meal is coming from, we're going to overeat. We're going to eat to the point where it's like, oh, I can't even move, you know, that itis, as they call it, you know, and we eat to the point that it's like your belly feels like it's bursting nearly. But what happens is you start with this as a child, but it never really changes. And you have this mentality instilled in you where it's like, yo, I gotta eat to be full. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, so yeah, me and Dre, we grabbed a quick slice, but I wasn't full from the pizza. But see, but that's the problem. We're eating to be full. We're eating to the point where it's like we're filling up a water balloon so much that we want to fill up the water balloon until it's bursting. Like it's not enough that it's expanded. We want to fill up the water balloon and see how much can it expand before it bursts. But we shouldn't be doing that because so many bad things are coming from this. Number one, habit. We are creatures of habit, and we keep doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. It gets to a point where that's all you know. All you know is filling that balloon until it's right there. It's just anything more, and the shit would collapse. The whole thing would just burst.
Right.
And it's a really bad mentality. It causes health issues. And the reason I use the balloon analogy is because the stomach expands very similar to a balloon. You know, even when you watch these shows that they show, like My 600-Pound Life, they always show when they do the gastric bypass. But why are you laughing though, son?
That 600-Pound Life, my favorite show.
Yo, It's a
100%.
wild show. That's all I'm gonna say right now.
Yeah, it's just that you watch that to encourage you to get off your ass. But go ahead, continue.
Yo, sometimes I watch that show and it just scares me. Like, what's
Oh
crazy
yeah,
is,
it could be you.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I'm one dominoes away. Like, damn, I could just,
Nah,
I could be,
nah.
I
That
could be
takes
two. You
years.
mean I'm two Taco Bell orders away?
Uh, that takes years to get
I
something
know,
like that.
I'm ODing.
But it
But
can
yeah,
happen.
like that show is a we could talk about that for a minute. The 600 pound life show is kind of wild. Like
Yeah, but go ahead,
it's
go ahead.
it's a great example of what I'm saying. It's people who have become so used to expanding that they just continue to expand their stomachs. And in that show, the reason I brought it up is because they very often show if the person is gets to the point where they're eligible for the surgery, they show how much stomach they've removed, how big the stomach was. It varies, but a lot of times they have this thing where they'll kind of remove it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll show you. They'll just be like, so this was Dre's stomach before we removed 80% of it. Or they'll be like, this is the 80% we removed. And you like, damn. Or they got this new thing. they'll just they'll just slap it on the table. And then they'll zoom in mad close and be like, this was Dre's belly. We removed 85% of it. I'm like, damn, that was your belly? Damn. It's crazy. So that's why I bring up that show and that point because I actually got that analogy from the show. The doctor uses that analogy on the show. His name is Dr. Nazardin, and he mentions that, and I think it's a great analogy. So that's why I'm using it, and that's what we do. So we're eating and we're expanding our belly, right? So the belly is set a certain way, but the belly is also set to expand. So that's why it's like that's why it's called lap band surgery, right? It's kind of like to hold it in place and keep it from expanding, but so much, right? And they say the sleeve is better. That's a whole nother topic. Anyway, the point is we have gotten used to eating until we are lethargic, eating until we're super full. And we continue to do that. And what happens is, even later on in life, if you get to a point where you're like, hey, I know this is a bad thing, I know I'm over consuming, I need to stop. It's hard because now you're trying to kick a 20-year habit, a
Right.
30-year habit, a
Yeah.
40-year habit. And it's crazy because you see, one, how much we overconsume, two, how many health issues can come directly from this, and three, how much we're passing this down from generation to generation. Even when I catch myself doing it sometimes. I'll give my daughter or one of my god kids something, and like,
Right.
oh, I don't want anymore. I'm like, you better finish it. You better eat that. You asked for it. You better finish that. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, yo, go ahead, man. If you're not hungry anymore, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I prefer for you to not be hungry anymore and chill out than be so full that you like laying on the couch holding your belly now. You know what I'm saying? You like,
Right.
I ate too much. Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
ah. So that's the thing. And I think it's an interesting topic, and I think that is something that we see a lot as color of people. And because we're I don't want to say malnourished, but because we come from this scarcity mentality, and I'm not blaming anyone for that. I totally understand that a lot of us didn't know where the next meal was coming from. A lot of people they didn't know. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you still don't. We're in a
Right.
time where maybe right now you don't know where your next meal is coming from. So
Right.
maybe you feel like, yo, I'm gonna just eat and get crazy full.
Right.
But I wanna shed some light on what that does to our body, what that does to our mentality, and what that does to us over the years.
Right.
So I wanted to just bring it up and then open up the floor.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts. Let you share your thoughts. So go ahead, man. Go through.
Yeah. So, it is interesting because you're right. In terms of history, it is coming from scarcity, and we
Mm-hmm.
still live in a society that's based on the have and have nots and
Yeah.
scarcity.
Yep.
So I do understand that, and I also understand that people don't want to waste resources.
Right.
And so they'll say, hey, to your kids, whatever, eat that. But now, we want to move to a place where we have a more intelligent management of resources, right?
Right.
And so that is kind of understanding, well, hey, how many servings do you need, or how much do you need
Right.
to feel content,
Right.
satisfied,
Right.
vocabulary words, satiated, right?
That's right. Yeah, I was
That's
waiting
what
for it.
they.
I knew that was one of your words you like to use. I said, oh, he didn't say it. I was playing double dutch. I don't know if you saw me. I was like, do I jump in?
Yeah.
They always say I cut him off. Do I jump in? Do I say it? You said it. Go ahead.
But it's like, I hesitate using that word satiated. I guess some people have like feelings about it, but whatever. It's just okay. You're good now. You
Right.
don't need any more. And that takes practice to get
Yep.
to, because we have come from that.
Yep.
I think what's important to understand is a lot of times we don't know when we're full because, as you were saying, very, true, that your belly expands now, right? It's like, okay, so the belly expands and it's content, it has food in it. It has to send a signal to the brain to say, we're good.
Yep.
That might take a minute. So that's why it's best to eat slowly.
Yep.
Take your time, don't rush. Because if you eat quickly, you feel like you're still hungry. You feel like you're not satisfied. So you keep eating, eating,
Yep.
but you probably was already satisfied. That's why it's best to say, okay, eat, chill for a minute,
Yep.
enjoy the meal, don't rush it.
Yep.
And then let your stomach communicate with the brain and
Yep.
say, hey, we're done.
Yep.
That's probably what's best, is understanding that. And so how do you do that? You start by understanding the portions, right? So it's like, well,
Absolutely.
a lot, rather than, as they say, your eyes being big in your stomach, I'm hungry. With me, I'm gonna need all of that.
Right.
Like, okay, I get that you're hungry, and fine, but take at least half of what you normally would take. This is
Right.
if you're trying to lose weight.
Right.
If you try, take what you normally take half of that, eat it slowly, enjoy the meal, talk while you're eating, have a good time. All the stuff that we were told not to do as kids. And so I was like, oh, yeah,
Right.
don't talk when you eat, stay focused on just eating.
Right.
No, you don't have to do that. You could actually talk while you eat, take your time,
Right.
chill, eat slowly. And when that's done, give yourself a minute. Drink something while you're eating,
And hopefully
water.
it's room temperature.
Yeah. And even if it's not room temperature, it's still going to help expand that stomach. The point is, you're taking your time, you're giving it a few minutes, seeing how you feel 10, 15 minutes later, and being like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm okay. I
Yep.
don't really want anything to eat.
Yep.
If you really are hungry, okay, take a little bit more. You don't need to take the exact same
Right.
portions. You might need to take a
Right.
little bit more.
It's like I'm gonna put the exact same amount on my plate. Round 2.
Yeah. Right. And so you're right. So it's like, yeah, just learning how to understand portions. Another hack or trick is to maybe use a smaller plate.
Yep.
You use a smaller plate, put food in there. It feels like it's a lot. You eat it, and you might feel, satiated. Might feel fine. And
Yep.
I also feel like do something after you eat, rather than just kind of just sitting down. Getting something done, taking care of a chore, something
Right.
like that after you eat, just to help your body metabolize and try to keep your metabolism as high as it possibly can.
Right.
That's my thing.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things you mentioned, I actually tell my daughter all the time. Like, she'll fly through her meal and be like, "Can I have more? It was really good." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna say you can't have more, but let's sit for 5 minutes and see how you feel." And for her, that is like the longest minutes
All
ever.
kids, all
She is
kids are
like
like that. Yeah.
losing her mind. Even if we're watching a great movie or a great TV show and she's loving it, she's like, "But Dad, has it been 5 minutes? Because I'm still hungry." I'm like, "I know, but
Right.
just give it a second. Matter of fact, have a sip of this room temperature water. Tell me how you
Right.
feel." And I would say probably half the time she'll say, "Actually, Dad, I'm good," or she'll just get up and put her plate in the sink, and I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" She said, "I'm all right, Dad. I don't need anything else." I said, "All right, great." So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that was a vital point. Eating fast, like you said, we're not giving our brain time to register those signals. We're flying through the meal, and we're not giving that signal enough time to get there. You know what I'm saying? The bat signal might have went up, but Batman still has to see it and get there. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You think about how how we traditionally do at like Thanksgiving, right? Where
hmm
it's like
hmm
mad food. We probably didn't eat all day, and because we know we
yep,
got all this food
that's
coming,
definitely a day when you wait.
right? And so you
That's
waited, you
definitely when
wait
you're
for
like, I'm just
hours.
gonna, I'm just gonna wait till I get to Dre's crib because it's
Yeah,
gonna be crazy when I get there.
yeah. You're gonna wait for hours, and because you've been waiting for hours, you feel like you're absolutely starving. Like I'm
Right.
gonna eat all this stuff,
Yep.
and you pile the plate up. You eat so fast, you eat so
Yep.
quick, and then you realize like, yo, oh my god, it takes a minute before you get there, but it might take about 10, 15 minutes. Oh, I ate way
Yep.
too much,
Yep.
and
Then you just
now,
laying on the couch. Just,
yeah,
oh,
your energy is
oh,
low. You're trying to kick your body into like digestion mode, but the body's going to
yep.
take the time it takes to digest is going to take a minute.
Yep.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not necessarily the best practices when it comes to eating. So portion
Yeah, and like I said,
control.
portion control is vital. Portion control is
Yeah.
very, very important. And like I said, it causes these health issues because down the line, 20 years later, 30 years later, you've become so used to eating to be super full as opposed to eating until you're simply just not hungry anymore. And now your
Hmm.
body has been used to storing all of this fat, storing all of these things. And you're like, man, I can't fit anything I used to fit anymore. Or, like I said, you get to this point where you're educated enough to understand, okay, now I have to change my patterns. I have to change the way I eat, my portion
Right.
control. But your brain and stomach are both used to this huge amount of food, this overconsumption.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the things I wanted to talk about because, like I said, off camera, off mic, it came up a lot recently, and I think especially in this country where so many of us are obese. I mean, I don't know if I fit in that category or not at this point. We could talk about that, but so many of us are just overweight, regardless of the term obese or not. So many of us are just overweight, out of shape,
Yeah.
and I think that this is part of it. I think if we begin to highlight these things, if we begin to educate ourselves and trying to change these things, then we can make changes for not only ourselves, but the next generation and the generation after that. You know what I'm saying? Just because
Yeah.
I'm obese or I'm overweight doesn't mean the next 5 generations of my family need to be as well.
Right.
You know
And
what I'm
and
saying?
and it you kind of want to learn, as I said before, to manage the resources. Like you
Right.
don't have to OD. You can save some for tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
So rather than, we buy all this food, we put it in our carts, and we have to like hurry up to eat it. No,
Right.
you don't. You could take your time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly. Yo, let's get into that real quick because that's been on our topic list for a minute. What defines obesity? What makes a person obese? Talk about it.
Yeah.
Because
So
we mentioned a while ago, real quick, just for
hmm
context, we mentioned
yeah.
a while ago that the BMI is not really accurate, even though that's what a lot of people lean on or go to. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. That's why I actually put it on our topic list a while ago, because On Fake Fat Pride, we spoke about people being obese. We spoke about people. Hey, I'm just saying it's true.
Nah, I just like it.
um,
Go ahead.
uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, yeah. So, we spoke about people being overweight and people. We use the term obese a lot on the podcast. I listen
Yeah,
back and I see, we mentioned overweight and obese, but we've also said that the BMI has been proven to not really be accurate for colored people, for
right.
people who work out, etc. So that is the question that I wanted to bring up and see what's your perspective. And I have some thoughts as well. But I wanted to know what defines obesity. Is it the BMI? Is it your scale? Like my dad and sister told me they got a scale. Yo, this scale is crazy. Yo, Dre, they said when you step on it, it dead ass says obese.
That's hot. I need that.
Son,
That's the one. That's
I
the one
don't
I
need
need.
that.
I
They
need that
said
all
they
day.
said like it said is and it changes colors. It changes colors. They told me. I can't wait to go to their crib, and just look at this scale. I don't even want to get on it because I know it's gonna say obese. But I just want to see how this shit works because my sister and dad told me it changes colors. So like if you weigh what you're supposed to weigh allegedly, you have to put in like your information, like a lot of the scales now. And they said when you step on it, if you're good, it'll be green and it'll say good, on point, or something like that. But if you're not, it turns red and says overweight, obese, and then it shows you the number. He said, my dad and sister told me. It's not only him; she told me too. And they said it says like 40 pounds overweight or whatever, 25 pounds overweight, and it'll say overweight, slightly overweight, obese. I'm like, son, that's gangster. I'm scared of that scale, son. So yeah, so that's the
Yeah,
question. Just to bring it back, what defines obesity? Is it the BMI? Is it your scale, or is it something totally different?
yeah. Once again, that is a dope scale. I think I might need just because I think it's funny. And I think it's funny because honestly, I think like all scales are funny in the sense
Yeah.
of that it's relative, you
Right.
know. But the BMI is really simple in terms of what it is, right? So your
Uh huh.
BMI takes your height,
Yep.
um, it takes your
Age.
weight and your age. I believe
Yep.
it's those three factors: your
Mm-hmm.
height, how much you weigh, and your age, and says based on that you're supposed to fit into this box. And if you
Yep.
don't fit into that box,
You
because
fucking
they
up.
say they classify that box as being normal, you're either underweight or
Right.
overweight, right?
Yep.
And then then it's how far you are from that box. So if you're
Yep.
in this box of normal and you're just outside, or then you're overweight. And then after that, I believe it's obese.
Yep.
I don't think it's anything in between overweight and obese.
Right.
Um, then you got like underweight, and I don't know what the other thing is, but defines, maybe grossly underweight. I have no idea.
That's a
But
good
that's what the
question.
B.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah,
We should look that up. What
yeah. You
is
could
the
probably look at.
opposite? I think that's called an antonym. Speaking of vocabulary, I think could be wrong.
Yeah,
Put it in the
you
comments
probably.
if I'm wrong. I'm gonna start saying put everything in the comments. Watch. Put it in
But
the
it's like
comments if I'm wrong. But yeah, what's the opposite term? So we have obese. I want to know what's this other one. Is it anorexic?
could be
I don't know.
underweight and then anorexic. That
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. That's my thought. Let's see. But go ahead. You were saying. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
cut you off.
but yeah. So that's what obesity is. It's measured by the BMI. The BMI has
Right.
classified it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, how much do you go by that? Because that's way too simple just
Right.
to look at somebody's weight. As we were
Yep.
saying before in our other podcast, it's like, well, if you look at like the typical bodybuilder who's like
Yep.
super huge,
Yep.
mad muscular, they
Yep.
step on the scale. Let's say that this person is 5'5", but they're 300 pounds, you
That's
know,
overweight like a motherfucker.
that's obese according
Yeah.
to the BMI.
Wildly.
But they might be. um, only 5% fat or 10% fat.
Right.
So we look at them, yeah, well, they're not fat, but they are technically obese. I mean,
Right.
their muscles is way bigger. So
Right.
that's what we want to start looking at in terms of defining it, or a better way of defining it is how much body fat do you have?
And
You
that's
see
what I
what I'm
was saying a
saying?
while ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So your body fat percentage would be to me a better representation of
Absolutely.
obesity, not
That's what
just
I
how
feel.
big you are. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still be unhealthy and be, as a bodybuilder, crazy muscular. You,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? A lot of times these bodybuilders are way too big if they're taking drugs and stuff, and then their heart enlarges,
Yep.
and they have all kind of like liver problems and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, but that's a different conversation. But you're not fat. There's no way you could call somebody that's crazy shredded. You can
Right.
see all their muscles and be like, oh, he's obese. Well, he's not. They're not fat. So that
Right.
might be the wrong thing to use. It may be better just to say, okay, what's my body fat percentage, and kind of work from there.
Yep.
And I tend to get away from labeling things and try to be more accurate. So, what I mean by that, if your body fat percentage is 30%,
Right.
and you look at yourself and you say, I like the way I look, then that's all that matters. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's
I
it.
agree. I agree.
If you look at yourself and you say, oh man, I think I want to lose some weight, then you might want to say to yourself, I'm at 30%. Maybe I want to take it back to 25%. Maybe I want to take it to
Right.
20%. Right.
Right.
So it's a bit more accurate, not not completely accurate, but it's a bit more accurate statement on in terms of one's goals and what
Uh huh.
fat is, because you're saying to yourself, hey, I want to either increase fat
Yep.
or I want to increase muscle,
Yep.
or vice versa. I want to lose fat or I want to lose some muscle if you feel like you got too much muscle. Because let's say somebody is a cyclist, right? And cyclists
Yep.
are all about, being light. You want to ride that bike as fast as you possibly can.
Right.
If you're holding too much muscle, weight is weight. So you might say to yourself, man, listen, the
I
muscle is
got to
holding
drop.
me
Yeah.
back.
Right.
I gotta drop some of this,
Yep.
and do more endurance so that the muscles get a little bit smaller, so
Right.
that you can go faster. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
So that's the way I see it, is that it's more specific in terms of percentages than
Hmm.
actually those buckets and those categories. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a while ago, well, it wasn't that long ago, but like an episode or two ago when we were talking about our fitness journeys, that's what I was saying too. I've been for a while now, I've been more concerned about that body fat percentage and where it's going on that scale every time I look at it. So it's like, okay, if like you said, if it's 30%, that's my benchmark. That's where I'm starting. It's like, okay, cool. That's my starting point, not benchmark. All right, cool. If I want to lose fat, then perhaps I want to bring that down, just like you said, to 25, 20 motorcycle. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is.
Mm.
And that is my goal. So I agree 100%. For me, I think that we should start looking more at body fat percentages. And like we said last time, remember that all of these things are estimates.
Right.
Nothing is 100% accurate. So if you look at your scale and it says, hey, your body fat is 10%, awesome. You still got to make those same decisions. Do you feel good? Do you want that percentage to go up? Do you want that percentage to go down? And continue to use that same device to keep those metrics in place. Because if I get on my scale and it says 30%, but then I go visit you and the scale says 20%, I didn't just magically lose 10% of body fat.
I know.
It's a different device. So it's not the same. I have to look at things a little differently. And I
Well,
think that's what we have to
yeah,
remember.
you have to use the same inaccurate measurement. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
right.
if you're using your scale every day, use your scale. Don't
Right.
okay. I use my scale in the morning, and then I go to
Right.
the gym. I use the gym scale. Then I go to
Right.
my girl house and I use her scale, and
Right.
now you're going to go crazy because
Yep.
each one of those is going to be different. You're going to step on. You go to the doctor. The doctor will say step on the scale. You're going to
Right.
be like, okay, you step on that scale. Wait, well that's completely different than what my other scale says.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. Don't put that
Right.
kind of pressure on yourself. Each
Yep.
scale is going to be different.
Yep.
Um, use the scale that you use and you have access to almost every day. That scale in your bathroom.
Right.
Use that one. It's not completely accurate. That's all right. But just go by that to
Right.
see any plus or any minus.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think we should be less concerned with the number on the scale and more concerned with that body fat percentage. Tongue tied right there. Be more concerned with that
Mhm.
body fat percentage because, like you said, especially if we're talking about in terms of health, we know having that extra body fat causes a lot of other issues. So that's one of the things that I think we should focus on. All right. So for those who were around last pod, we spoke about possibly branching the two things I do. I mean, I do a lot of stuff, but this and the sex talk videos. I said that I had a topic that we probably could dive into here because it applies. So I'm going to bring up the topic. So even when I started doing fitness stuff in 2013, um, I was very sexually active. I know that boxers, for example, I don't know about MMA fighters, but I know that boxers largely are not allowed to engage in physical activity, in sexual activity uh, before a fight, leading up to a fight. I don't know the exact amount of time, but I do know that they're not allowed to fornicate and they're not allowed to be intimate. Basically, they're not allowed to release to keep this PG or whatever, not make it X rated, I guess. Um, but I've never done that.
Ejaculate.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Not allowed to do that.
No ejaculations
Right.
allowed.
So I know that boxers are not. Dre is cracking up. Son, that's the truth though. Like they're not allowed. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never done that. And then I remember at one point I worked with this dude who was really into bodybuilding. He was like a security guard at this spot that I worked at, and this dude was lean. I mean, his body fat percentage was really low, and he wasn't big, but he was really cut up. He was, just, he had a nice body. He was ripped. He was doing this thing, and he told me one day because he heard me talking to somebody else. He said, Jay, you're a cool guy, but I have to be very honest with you. Um, you're never. I don't know how to say this, but I hope this doesn't offend you. But holler.
Gasolina.
Yeah.
Speaking of ejaculation, if you working out, no gasolina for the ladies. Can't gasolina them. Sorry.
Yo, I ain't messing with you, son. That was great. Oh man, that was great for so many reasons. Remember Boondocks? He said that's funny on so many
Many
levels.
levels. Yeah.
Yo, anyway, so he basically was like, "Yo, you're never gonna hit your goals." I said, What do you mean I'll never hit my goals? Like, do you know me? Like, I know you're new here, but son, I used to weigh way more. Like, I used to weigh a buck. I'm a buck 85 right now. And like, I'm looking and feeling great. I'm wearing mediums and schmediums and some smalls. I mean, at one point, I got a picture of somebody gave me like a boy's extra large polo shirt that their son didn't want. and it fit perfectly. I threw it right on. It was like, oh yeah, I guess I got to start shopping in the boys section now.
Right.
And I mean, it's also because I'm not the tallest guy. But I was looking at him like, I don't understand. And he said, well, he started breaking it down about how, listen, you know, you lose a lot of your power. Chemically, you're releasing too much. Dre's face. you know, um, he started speaking about what they now call semen retention, and basically stating that you need to be holding on to that power to fuel you. And it made me think about when I was younger, and I was a teen, dudes wouldn't have sex for a while. They'd be like, man, I'm backed up, son. I got so much aggression and like just rage. I'm frustrated. And I was like, oh, so that's what he's saying. Like that, he's saying it fuels you. Okay, I got it. But I
Hmm.
never listened to that. I've always been very active, as they say now, in the streets. So I was wondering, what are your thoughts about that? Because there's a large part of the fitness community that believes this. Even that dude was telling me he had a girlfriend and she's also into fitness and she does all this other stuff. And he kind of made it seem like she was the girl him, which I was like, I don't know if that's attractive, but salute, brother. You do what you do. And he said they have, how do I say this without being X rated? They have a lengthy session once a month, and then that's it. So basically, once a month, they're only allowed to do this once a month. Once a month, they basically lock in and drain each other, and then
Hmm.
that's it until next month. And I was like,
Now,
son,
does he feel the same way about women, or does this only apply to men?
I don't know, and I'm no longer in contact with him. That is a great
Okay.
question. The way he made it seem was like they both followed this rule, but I don't know if that was some controlling shit or if that they both believe this. I don't have enough data to be able to say anything else. But
Yeah,
a lot of
but
this has happened. Even one of my close friends recently was like, son, I see you back in the gym. I see you doing your thing. But son, I know you, son. I know you be doing your thing with the ladies, son. You making it harder for yourself, son. You got to get that semen retention going. I said, nah.
yeah, yeah, your instincts were correct with that. So I've heard of this before. It's
Uh huh.
not new. People have been saying this for years.
Right.
As you know, I'm not just a fitness enthusiast. I'm also a martial artist.
Right.
And I remember back in the days when I would go fighting at tournaments,
Uh
my
huh.
instructor would be like, "Yeah, no sex." I know what's wrong saying that. Um, before the fights, right? Like
Uh
if
huh.
we got a tournament on Saturday, yo, no sex before the fight because it will weaken you.
But how many weeks before? I'm curious.
I don't even remember, but I know he was just like, it was basically the week of, like the week
Okay.
of the fight coming up, tournaments coming up. No, and I remember Mike Tyson talking about this too.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I find the clip, I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna give it to you.
No, a
But
lot of boxers have spoken about it. It's not
yeah,
only Tyson. You're absolutely right. That's why I thought it would be a good topic for this pod and something I could probably use on that side too, because it's something that in the fitness community is very much spoken about. It's
yeah.
believed. It's practiced. I mean, I
It's
don't
a
practice that, but
it's another myth. So where's the myth coming from? Let me
okay.
go in.
Go ahead, son.
So the myth is coming from this belief
Uh huh.
that when you ejaculate, a lot of people call that, ejaculation, what men have, sperm, if you will, protein. I'm sure you may have heard this before.
I
Yes?
have.
Yeah. And so I mean, like, yeah, man, that protein, son, that protein. And we know we link protein synthesis to muscle growth and energy,
Right.
right? So that's coming from this idea that when you ejaculate, you're losing some protein. And if you're losing some protein, you won't have enough protein for protein synthesis. And thus your muscle growth will decrease, your energy levels will decrease. So it's not a good idea to do that. And you want to have all your energy, especially if you have a fight coming up or a show coming up or something like that.
Right.
So why is it a myth? It's a myth, number one, because you don't the substance that comes out of you isn't necessarily, it's not protein. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly zinc if you analyze it. And so this idea that you're losing protein is wrong, because you're not. Um, it's zinc. And so if you want to look at it in terms of minerals, that's what it is. But that has absolutely nothing to do with your body partitioning nutrients or putting nutrients where it needs it. So when you eat your foods, your supplements, whatever, your body recognizes it and starts putting things where they belong. Hey,
Right.
the muscles are weak. They need to recover, protein synthesis, all the minerals that different things needs, calcium, blah, blah, blah. Your body is going to put things where it belongs. If it has the nutrients, it's going to use them.
Right.
Part of that is having you ready for sex. So it's going to fill up your, sac, if you will, whatever you want to call it, so
Right.
that, producing sperm, so that, hey, you're ready. But we do know when we have sex, we ejaculate, whatever, we lose energy.
Right.
But we're losing energy not because we ejaculated. We're losing energy because we're doing a physical activity, and it's come to its like end.
Right.
And
that
so
climax.
You climaxed, right? So you did what you need to do. You expounded a lot of energy doing it over and over. You finally reach climax. It's pleasurable, and now you're tired, and so you're exhausted. So if someone told you, if you think about it, just after you climax, like you finished, you just did it, a split second later, your lady turns over to you and goes, "Let's run." You're gonna be like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Right? No,
Actually, no. Let me stop. I'm not gonna get into it. Go ahead.
But you don't have the energy. You're gonna
Right.
be like, I could do that, but you're gonna have to give me some time to
Right.
build up my reserves.
Right.
Even when you want to do like a round 2 or a round 3 when it comes to sex, you have to give yourself a little bit of time. Hey, I got you, boo. Let me, hey,
Right.
rest for a minute. Round 2, I'm about to knock it out the park. You have no idea, right?
Right.
So it's my whole point of saying all this, to trying to explain this, is that that's a myth. You can have sex after you work out. You can have it before. If you have sex, before you work out, that's fine. You just need time for your body to recuperate and get ready, to work out. Because you're basically saying, I'm gonna do a physical activity before I do another physical activity, right?
My favorite.
Yeah. Fine. But if you compare yourself honestly, like, okay, what's your level of exercise before sex and after sex? If you do any activity, physical activity, before you exercise, you're not to say you can't work out or you can't do it. It's maybe not going to be as intense.
It's much more taxing. I've done the research.
Yeah, right. And that's what I'm saying.
It's
but that would come
more
with
taxing.
But that would come with any physical activity. If I say, yo, Jay, let's do some cardio, we do cardio, and then afterwards we try to do weightlifting, it's gonna be, yo, I can't lift, yo, this is a lot. It's gonna be way more taxing to lift those weights. So that comes with any physical activity. That's say you can't do it, but you're not, it's not gonna be more as intense as you might want it to be. You're not gonna get the most out of it. Now, let me just switch it for a second.
Oh, devil's advocate, Dre. Let's go. Let's go. Devil's advocate, Dre.
You're completely losing your mind.
I like it. Devil's advocate. You know
So,
what I'm saying?
what we could be talking about is not physical, but mental, your focus. So,
Mm.
when we work out or fighting, sparring, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
we have, and we're working out is something called mind muscle connection,
Yep.
right? When you're doing karate, it's like you're focusing on your technique, whatever, or you're doing MMA or boxing, you're focusing on what you're doing.
Right.
If you do an activity that takes away from your focus, it can absolutely be detrimental to
Yep.
you.
Yep.
So I can agree with what this guy is saying if he's saying, hey, I don't have the right focus. Like when I get into the gym, I don't have that muscle mind connection, which basically just means I think of it as a meditation, if you will. Like you get in the gym, you got that tunnel vision, and it's like, yo,
Yep.
I'm focusing on me, nothing else. I'm not thinking
Right.
about how beautiful that girl looks, those titties over there. I ain't
Right.
thinking about none of that. I'm focusing on what I need to do. I need to lift
Right.
this. I need to pull this. You stay focused on yourself.
Right.
When you're doing martial arts, you're staying focused on yourself, on your technique. Same thing with boxing. So I
Right.
get it in terms of keeping your 100% focus,
Yep.
but physically, there is no difference. But it might be a difference to you,
Mm-hmm.
um, mentally or spiritually, because we also know we need those things too in order
Right.
to achieve goals.
That's
If
right.
your if your if your mental is off, you're not going to lift right. If your spirit is not right, you can't run the way you want to. Things are going to
Right.
be off and you're going to feel
Right.
it. So I do understand it in terms of that.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, my man said both sides of the coin today. You know what I'm saying? I like it. Yeah, I never follow any of that shit. I mean, I never
Of
follow
course you don't.
any of that shit. I'm like, oh, what you said? After the elliptical, you want to pick me up? All right. I got about 15 more minutes. Bye. You know what I'm saying? And after the elliptical, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? But it is very taxing. Like a minute ago, I know I told you this already, but for the pod world, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was asked to have a rendezvous. I was like,
A
all right,
secret
cool.
rendezvous?
That was the best kind. Now in 2021, they call those a sneaky link.
Oh,
Ooh.
sneaky
That's what
link.
you know what I'm saying? Listen, this is educational. I got y'all.
Do that
Anyway,
stinky
so
link.
you
Do
know
the
what I'm
stinky
saying?
link.
You know what I'm saying?
Stinky
So
link.
a sneaky link. That's what they call it now. Anyway,
Yep.
so I was asked to have a rendezvous, but I needed
All
to
right.
work out. I didn't have a lot of time. I said, all right, I have to go running. I said, fuck it, I know what I'm gonna do. I said, are you cool with showering when you arrive? He said, yeah, of course, no problem. I said, all right, great. So I'm gonna be mad sweaty when you get here, like grossly sweaty, if that's cool with you. I was like, yeah, I don't care. We're jumping in the showers, whatever. I said, awesome. Man, I laced up my shit and ran. Hit my 3 miles. About 10 minutes later, they arrived. And about 15 minutes after that, it was time to do my thing again with the sneaky link.
Ah,
I was exhausted.
of
I,
course.
I possibly an overshare. I couldn't even finish. My body was like, nah, you did abs in the crib. About an hour later, you went jogging and did 3 miles. And now you're trying to do another couple miles? Ha 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 ha. Nah, son. Enough for today. And my body was like, all right, listen, you can keep going as much as you want, but that finish line is too far today.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think
I
about
was
your
I
body
was
as
done.
a cell phone battery, a lithium battery. You have
Yeah.
only but so much energy, bro. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And you go
Absolutely.
about your day, you go about your day, and
Yep.
you go about your day. At some point, you got to plug in and
Yep.
get that energy back.
That's
Maybe
right.
you're not at 100, but at least you're at 50. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Something.
Give you to give you something. But to think
Right.
that you could just keep expounding energy, expounding energy, expounding energy, and then
Right.
you get to zero and feel like, what's
How much
wrong
how
with
much
me?
can we go on empty?
I'm
You
like,
ever seen that Seinfeld episode?
no.
Oh, there's a Seinfeld episode where Kramer is doing. I mean, fuck him now, but back then it was okay, way back.
It's okay.
But uh, he was doing a test drive. It was on some like, can we go over here? Can we go over there? And it's
I
only
think I
got a little bit of fuel in it for a test drive. And he was on some like,
I
you
remember
got the
that.
guy with him. So
Yeah,
he's with the
yeah,
guy from the
yeah.
dealership. He's like, hey, it's about to hit empty. The guy's like, yeah, we should probably start heading back to the dealership. We really should have been back at the dealership.
Right,
I might
right.
get in trouble. He was like, yeah, but how far you think we could go on empty? And it's just keep they
Right.
just keep driving. And he's like, yo, how far you think we could go on empty? And sometimes that's the
Right.
vibe.
And
You know what I'm
finally
saying?
it's like night and they stop and they realize, oh, okay, this far. You know what I'm
This
saying? Like,
far.
but now you stuck because
Yeah.
you made bad decisions in terms of energy management.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so it's like, yeah, like you're not you you're not a machine. You're just a
Right.
human being. You
Yeah.
need time. You need
Yeah.
rest. You can't just keep going and going and going. And I know
Yeah.
for a lot of for especially for young dudes, I remember back in the day, this young dude asked me, "Was there something wrong?" Because he didn't see a lot of cum. He did a sneaky link, if that's what you guys are calling. Like he, you know, had sex, had sex, came, left, and then went to go check with somebody else. And it's like, yo, it was like nothing. I'm like, bro, it's not an unlimited supply.
Yeah, nah, it's not.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is wrong with you, bro? Like, you're just a human being. You're not going to just keep massive loads all over the
Right.
place forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to run
Yeah.
low. You have to
Especially
rest.
if you want some like marathon, like y'all done had like
Yeah,
6, 7 rounds. After a
right.
while, it's just like, okay, one, this hurts when I'm finished. And two, there's like nothing left for me to put out, like at
Yeah,
all. Like in a minute, it's just gonna be powder with a sign that says add water and stir. You know what
right,
I'm saying?
right. But I do want to get back to, and maybe
Go
somebody
ahead.
could comment where it's like why we feel this way with men, but we don't feel the same way with women, and
Elaborate.
it's some anatomical difference. So okay, like I was asking about the dude you mentioned, it's like him and his lady, they only have sex once a month, and they stay in shape and blah blah blah, and because they
Uh huh.
don't want to, so it's like, well, is that true for like women? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm a woman MMA fighter or woman martial arts, or I go to the gym and I want certain results, do I not, have to have sex? Because if I, you know, climax, does that mean they lose energy too? You know what I'm saying? It's
It's a
completely
good
different.
question.
You know?
I'm almost scared to say this out loud, but maybe we need our first woman guest.
Oh well, we could actually.
You know what I'm saying? I know a
Uh,
person or two. I'm sure you might know a person or two who might could come in and weigh in
mhm.
on that.
or whatever. But the thing is, I I'm if I had to take a guess, I would just say it's a lot. That shit is coming from a male ego machismo perspective. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? Where you're not even thinking about women as fighters. You're not thinking as women as athletes. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Because that's some old school shit anyway.
Yep.
So that only adds to the myth is that you weren't even considering women when you said some dumb shit like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
It's a great
no.
question. I don't know. I've never. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't box. I'm not a quote unquote bodybuilder. I'm just a regular guy, and I don't follow that shit. But it is a great question to ask. Maybe we could do a survey, or maybe we could reach out to some people. I think that would be cool to have some of the ladies weigh in on that and see, or even some of the guys who have some of this boxing and MMA training. Now a lot of gyms do both, ladies and gentlemen, training in one gym. So maybe they have some information. That would be an interesting thing to weigh in on. So let's see what we could find out.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? We got a week or so. Why not? Sweet. And I have to let the listeners know one thing. It's very possible that we will have a later release the next time you hear us. It's very possible that episode 12 will not drop on Tuesday. But we'll keep you posted on the socials, as they call them. And we have some cool things that we're working on for y'all. We look forward to delivering some cool stuff to y'all very soon. So if it's late, it'll be worth it. I know people are looking for it when it drops, and we don't want to be we don't want to let you guys down. We don't want to disappoint you, but we are working on some things behind the scenes, and I think it'd be fun for y'all and worth the wait. So I just want to give y'all a heads up. So if it doesn't drop on time, I don't want you to be like, yo, but where's episode 12? What the fuck, man? So I'd like to throw a little heads up out there, a little bit of transparency. You know what I'm saying? And that's it.
Right. All right.
So we're out of here. Time to roll out.
Boom.
Peace.
And let's roll out, roll out, roll out, roll out, let's roll out.